Hello friends, and welcome back to another cozy autumnal video. I'm so happy you are here today. My name is Sheila. If you're new, please like and subscribe. Like this video, hit the subscribe button. I have not said that in so long. I realize it does help grow my channel. So if you're new or you've watched a couple videos and you have not subscribed, please subscribe. I'd love for you to join our little cozy community over here. Fall books, autumn books, books. I've been planning all morning how I wanted to structure this video, and I've done countless book recommendation videos for the past few fall seasons, and if you've watched all of them, there's definitely going to be some repeats. I'm doing a mix of sharing my fall reading list, so books that I am definitely reading this fall or I want to try and read, along with just general book recommendations from books that I've already read. And a lot of the books on my TBR this fall are repeat authors that I've read in past fall seasons. So that's just how they're all going to kind of flow together. And I have categories. We've mapped out categories, friends. I even outlined the categories. So we're going to jump into cozy fantasy to get started because we're in September. Some of us are not fully into the fall spirit. Maybe it's hot where you're living. It's 80 degrees today. Let's be real. It doesn't get cold in certain places, you know, for a little bit, or you're in the southern hemisphere where it is not fall. So you're completely opposite. But fall is a mindset. Telling myself that, and I've been gradually getting more into the spirit, and books are the best way, in my opinion, to do that. So I have some cozy fantasy, and I forgot to mention, I actually want to jump before we get into our categories. I want to share just something that I shared in past videos, but it's a poem book. It's a poem for every autumn day, edited by Allie, Esiri. This is more of something that is like a coffee table book or something to add to your morning routine in the morning or even in the evening or afternoon. I like to start my day when I sit down to plan and check in with my journal and give myself a quiet moment by reading a poem a day. So from September 1st all the way through the end of November, there is a selection of curated poems by an editor. There's like 2 to 3 different poems per day. So it's not just like one poem, you have options, and it contains a slew of different poets from, you know, the beginning of time all the way to the more modern contemporary poets. And even though I read most of this last year and the year before, it's always nice to revisit a poem, and it just sets you up for your day a little bit better. So I do recommend this if you want something to add a little bit of daily fall to your life. Okay, now we can get into cozy fantasy options. And a lot of books on my list are all kind of cozy, you know, we just love cozy things. Cozy, witchy, magical realism, historical fiction, a little bit of romance here and there. There's a good mix. So hopefully you find something that you haven't heard of or something that piqued your interest that you'd like to look into. So my first recommendation is a series, and it's the Shady Hollow series, friends, by Juneau Black. I think there's like 6 or 7 books in this series, and I started reading it a couple falls ago. So book 1 is Shady Hollow. Book 2 is Cold Clay, and book 3, which is on my reading list for this fall, is Mirror Lake. This is like a cozy murder mystery series, and it takes place on in a small little town called Shady Hollow, and all the residents are little woodland creatures, and our main character is Vera Vixen, the fox, and she's kind of the town sleuth. And each story or each book, there's just some kind of murder that happens, and Vera takes the case and tries to solve it. And you have different occupants of this town that play different roles. You have the police officer, the librarian, the coffee shop owner, the bookstore owner. It's just so magical, and I'm actually really excited to dive into the 3rd book. I think I'm going to read this very soon. It's a nice introduction to the fall time as well if you're trying to get in the spirit. Gentle approach to the autumnal season, and I always like reading this like as we get closer to the end of September into October to get me really into that vibe, because I love the descriptions of the town and the sights and the scenes and the smells, and it just really sets you up to get you in a good mood. So highly, highly recommend, and I'm excited to see how I like Mirror Lake, because Vera Vixen takes on her most challenging case yet, solving the murder of a rat who appears to still be alive. Dun, dun, dun. My next cozy fantasy is The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Leong. This is such a sweet little heartwarming fantasy book chronicling this found family type of situation. Our main character, Tao, is an immigrant fortune teller, and she's traveling in between villages, so we have that quest adventure traversing, you know, the outdoors that I really enjoy when I'm reading fall books, or just really kind of like any outdoor, you know, fantasy vibes. And along the way, she finds people that essentially join her crew and her little, you know, wagon. The whole plot is that Tao's just trying to make her way through life. She's lonely, she doesn't have any friends, so I think it's sweet that she finds her family throughout the story, and they're also looking for a lost child. That's kind of like where the quest takes us and the plot carries us. And the people that she acquires on her trips is a semi-reformed thief, an ex-mercenary recruit, a baker, and a slightly magical cat who we have down here. This reminded me of Legends and Lattes a lot, kind of that very soft, surface level kind of fantasy where we're not getting like deep character development or descriptions or really anything more in depth like you would get from like a more high level fantasy book. It's cozy fantasy. So I would go into this with lower expectations if you're kind of expecting something grandiose or just like life altering, life shattering. This is what I would consider lighthearted and cozy, and something that you just need as a little pick-me-up to add a little bit of joy to your autumn season. And Julie Leong has another book coming out, I think beginning of October, that I would love to pick up. I did not put it on my TBR this year, but I have 9 books on my TBR, and I don't know, it's a menu because I'm gonna be very busy this season. If you saw my last vlog where I was preparing for fall, I share some exciting news and about how I need to really narrow down like how I spend my time this fall, because I'll be focused on packing and moving, which is very exciting. So I don't want to like overwhelm myself with a huge reading list. So if I end up feeling called to read it, maybe we will, or maybe I'll read it sometime next year. But I really did enjoy this book and want to see more from the author. Okay, next we've entered the witchy magical realism category, which is, dare I say, my favorite category, because I love witchy books and I'm like trying to hold these up and not drop them. I mean, these aren't even all the books that I want to share with you guys. I mean, where do I even start? Let's start with the whimsical witchy books, diving straight in to Sangu Mandanna, who wrote The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and I just absolutely loved this book. A warm and uplifting novel about an isolated witch whose opportunity to embrace a quirky new family and a new love changes the course of her life. So we have found family, you know, elements going on in here. What I particularly enjoyed about this was that there's a little bit of romance, but it wasn't anything crazy or spicy. It was like more of a yearning, longing type of romance that I really do enjoy. I love all kinds of romance, friends, trust me. But there's a time and a place for just pining type of romance, and I especially love that in like historical fictions. I really enjoyed that in this story, and all the characters were just so wonderful, including our main character, Mika Moon, who has to hide her magic, keep her head down, and stay away from other witches. And once I finished this and saw that Mandanna was coming out with a second book, I was so excited. And we've been waiting a little while, friends, which is why I'm so excited. I finally have it in my hand, A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, a whimsical and heartwarming novel about a witch who has a second chance to get her magical powers and her life back on track. Sarah Swan used to be one of the most powerful witches in Britain. Then she resurrected her great aunt Jasmine from the very recently dead, lost most of her magic, befriended a semi-villainous talking fox, and was exiled from her guild. Now she slightly, reluctantly, and just a bit grumpily helps Jasmine run an enchanted inn in Lancashire. where she deals with her quirky guest shenanigans, tries to keep said talking fox in check, and longs for a future that seems lost to her. But then she finds out about an old spell that could hold the key to restoring her power. So we have like a burned out witch plot, which I have another one of those on my list to share with you, which I just love. It's like such a good plot device where we have a character who used to be this great thing or did these great things. She's down on her luck, she's feeling really low in life, and it's time for a change, and we go along for that journey of her trying to rediscover herself. And I just love that. I love that so much. So I'm really excited to read this. Honestly, I have kind of high expectations for it. I don't know if I should have as high expectations about it, but the first one was just so great. So we will see. We will see how it goes. My next witchy recommendation, which is also about a burned out witch. It's called Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. I just love this cover. I read this book last year and I loved it so much. In this spellbinding, warm, and cozy debut novel, a burned out witch will need to turn to her friends and trust herself to find the magic in her own life again. So very similar premise. Our main character, Belladonna Blackthorn, hasn't lost her magical spark precisely, but she hasn't seen it in a while either. So she hasn't totally lost her magic. It's just kind of not there anymore, and she hasn't really been using it a lot. So I just feel like it's such a nice metaphor. Like, as a creative person, I just resonate with that so much. Not that I necessarily have spellbinding witch powers. We just all have that one thing or things about us that we just love and do, and then whether life takes over or we have a change of heart or our mental health takes a dip, we just kind of neglect that thing, and then we just get re-inspired again and try and rediscover that thing or ourselves, because life is all about the journey of discovering ourselves and rediscovering ourselves, right, friends? Really recommend this, and I love to see more from Lucy Jane Wood. I don't know if she has another book coming out soon. I haven't seen anything, but I'm waiting. Moving right along, friends, to Cozy Mysteries featuring witches. So this is a duology. Evan Fall Witches B&B, Bread and Breakfast Mystery. That is so hard to say. Anyway, we have two books in this series by Wallace, In the Company of Witches, and what is on my TBR for this fall, When the Crows Away. And I'm not a big murder mystery kind of gal. I tried to read more last year, was pleasantly surprised with In the Company of Witches because it gave me more deep character development and descriptions and just overall cozy like atmosphere that a lot of other cozy mysteries just don't have. So it's kind of teetering on being just a proper like novel rather than just a cozy mystery. When a guest dies in the B&B that our main character, Bryn Warren, helps run with her aunts, a young witch, Bryn, must rely on some good old-fashioned investigating to clear her aunt's name in this magical and charming new cozy mystery. We're getting a little bit of Sabrina the Teenage Witch with Bryn, who's living in this inn with her two quirky aunts. They're running a bed and breakfast, somebody dies, and we must solve the mystery, and they're also witches. This was really fun. I really enjoyed it. Recommend. And so book 2, what is Bryn getting up to? The ghost of a chocolatier believes he was murdered, and it's up to a young witch, Bryn Warren, to use her magical gifts and old-fashioned sleuthing skills to find out how he really met his bitter end. So we have another mystery. Somebody dies, somebody that makes chocolate. There's gonna be more hijinks involved. And I think a little bit of romance too, as Bryn tries to, oh, it's not Bryn, it's her aunts that obviously want her to find love again, but she's not certain she can. So we have a little bit of romance sprinkled in, which I do enjoy from time to time, so I'm excited to read this. Closer to October, witchy vibes. My next recommendation is the Practical Magic book series by Alice Hoffman. I mean, it's not a true Sheila autumn book recommendation video if I don't mention it, even if I've already read it. And there's no more books in the series for me to read. I've spent the last 4 years reading one book a year, and last year I finished it with the Book of Magic, which honestly was my favorite of the whole series because it really tied all the books together in such a chef's kiss type of way. I recommend starting with Practical Magic. That's the first book, which takes place, I think, in modern day with the Owen sisters. So it's like family, witchcraft. And if you've seen the movie, Practical Magic, you know, you have to read the book. Or maybe you haven't seen the movie, which I hadn't seen like until recently, a couple of years ago. So now it's like an annual rewatch for me. And I actually prefer the book over the movie. I feel like that's an unpopular opinion. I see a lot of people say they prefer the movie over the book, but I don't know, guys. I just preferred the book better. Maybe I just always prefer books over the actual movie. But yeah, so we have Practical Magic, and then The Rules of Magic, Magic Lessons, book 3, and then our final one, The Book of Magic. And I recommend reading them in that order, which I think is publishing order versus the kind of like order that you might see them like marketed as. The last of our witchy category is Discovery of Witches series, friends. Again, would this be an autumn book recommendation video if I did not mention our dearly beloved Deborah Harkness? So I have read all the 4 books, and this is the 5th one that came out last year, The Blackbird Oracle, which might be the last one in the series. I mean, it originally was a trilogy. It was originally a trilogy, and then she just kept writing more, and we have 5 books now, so I don't really know if this is truly the end. If you've never heard of it, it is a historical fantasy romance, not particularly in that order, but we have all my favorite things: fantasy, history, and romance. And Deborah Harkness is a history professor out in California, and I think that is just why I fell in love with her writing, because she's writing fiction, but she has a historian's lens, and she really is keen to include all those details that I just love. So the ambiance, the world building, the characters, there's so many different characters. Diana Bishop is our main character, and she's a witch. Chronicles the whole plot, which, without me giving things away, revolves around this manuscript that she falls into. It just kind of evolves from there. She's in the archives working on her book or whatever. Stumbles on this magical manuscript that just opens up this world of demons and vampires and other creatures, and we have time traveling. We go back to Elizabethan England. We're in New England. Each book just has its own little storyline, so I highly recommend checking out the first one, A Discovery of Witches, moving into the second one, Shadow of Night, third one, Book of Life, fourth one, Times Convert, which I did not like too much. It was nice, it was good. It was great to have another book by Deborah Harkness, but definitely not my favorite and not as well done as the other ones, and kind of more of a quick read as well. There could have just been more explored. So I'm not sure how I will feel about Blackbird Oracle. Diana Bishop journeys to the darkest places within herself and her family history. That's the other thing that I really love about the story, is that the genealogy, the family history, Harkness goes so in depth in it. There's science involved because of, all these creatures, and I just can't keep talking because I'll give things away. But if you really enjoyed the Vampire Diaries or Supernatural or those kind of TV series, which I enjoyed, you'll like this series. And this is also a TV series, which I have not watched. I don't know if I'm ever gonna watch it, guys. I keep saying this every year, and I keep getting comments from you lovely people saying you've watched the show and you did not like it as much as the book. I think going into watching the show knowing that I won't like it as much as the books is at least a low enough expectation that I'll enjoy it, but I'm not sure. I just don't want to see the visual representations of the characters, because it'll just skew my own idea of what they look like. So I don't know if I ever will watch it, but maybe one day. And then once you finish all the books and you're a super fan like me, there's this nonfiction book, which is a complete guide to the first 3 books, the original trilogy. And it's just a little guidebook that Harkness wrote, because hello, she's a historian and she's just writing all about how she was inspired, all the history that she pulled from, all her sources, her own research process, and how she wrote the book, and how she made all the characters. And I've only flipped through this. I mean, this is waiting for me when I finish reading the book, the whole series, and just need something. So this gives you all the context, all the juicy details for you if you're a super fan like me. Okay, we're segueing into historical fiction. Did you get that transition? So out of magical realism into a little bit of historical fiction, which this book kind of bridges the gap. It's both magical realism and historical fiction, but it's The Book of Lost Hours by Hayley Gelfuso. This is a new release from this year. I got it through Book of the Month, and it sounds very up my alley, and perhaps up your alley too if you're a bookish person like me who loves books about books. Who would you rewrite history for? Enter the time space, a soaring library filled with books containing the memories of those who have passed, and accessed only by specially made watches once handed down from father to son, but now mostly in government hands. This is where 11-year-old Elizabeth Levy finds herself trapped in 1938, waiting for her watchmaker father to return. When he doesn't, she grows up among the books and specters, able to see the world only by sifting through the memories of those who came before her. As she realizes that government agents are entering the time space to destroy books and maintain their preferred vision of history, she sets about saving these scraps in her own volume of memories. And then a spy shows up, and I think we have like a dual timeline as well, because there's another character named Amelia who in 1965 is mourning the disappearance of her uncle, ... This feels very like mirroring kind of the times that we're living in with book bans, book burning, said government, the American government trying to censor history and what is actually like true history and just completely rewriting history. No, we're not gonna let that happen. So I'm excited to read this. It's not very overtly fall or anything, but it's definitely like bookish in the sense of we're in a library, and that just gets me into a fall spirit. So this you could read any time of the year. I don't know when I'll read this. Maybe in November after I've moved and I just need to get lost. We will see. But I'm excited to read this and see how Hayley Gelfuso's writing style is. Continuing into our world of just historical fiction, I have 3 books by the same author, Sarah Penner, friends. I mentioned her probably in every fall book recommendation video. So her first book I read a couple years ago, The Lost Apothecary. Like you can even see like the edges are yellowing, like compared to my other books. Forgotten History, A Secret Network of Women, A Legacy of Poison and Revenge. Welcome to The Lost Apothecary. So we're in 18th century London, and there's women who want bad things to happen to their husbands because, hello, it's the 18th century. Women are not treated very well. So there are witches that are able to provide them with liquids and potions to, you know, make their lives a little bit better. But again, this is what I love. I love dual timelines. So we have a dual timeline and we have a modern perspective from an aspiring historian named Caroline, who discovers an aged apothecary vial in the River Thames, and we're on the hunt. So I enjoyed this book. I did not love it. I think I went in with really, really high expectations because the plot is just amazing, and my fault with it was that it was not executed very well. Like the ending could have been better, and I was just a little bit disappointed. So go in with low expectations, but just know like the vibes are there. It's something like great to just read during the time, but it might not be the greatest book you've ever read, and that's okay. That is totally fine. So then I read her next book that came out, the London Seance Society. We're in Victorian London again. 2 daring women hunt for truth and justice in the perilous act of conjuring the dead. So we have necromancers, we have conjuring of spirits, we have the occult. That's kind of the vibe we're going for in 19th century England. And we have murder mystery, all kind of sprawled into one. And I don't know which one. I think I like The Lost Apothecary better than this one. Again, I didn't like absolutely love this book, but I enjoyed it like overall. So Sarah Penner has a new book out this year that I'm currently reading. So this is on my TBR that we're currently checking off, The Amalfi Curse. So we've left England, friends. We are in Italy, in the Amalfi Coast. We're on Positano, powerful witchcraft, a hunt for sunken treasure, forbidden love on the high seas. Beware the Amalfi Curse. Again, we have dual timelines, historical fiction. So our historical viewpoint is in the early 1800s, and our modern day viewpoint, Haven, is a nautical archaeologist who has some unfinished business to do in the Positano area of Italy, where she wants to go searching for sunken treasure. But this area of Positano has strange things have happened over many, many centuries. Science just can't explain why there are so many shipwrecks. It's kind of like a Bermuda Triangle thing. You go sailing in this area, you might not come out alive. And scientists are baffled, our nautical archaeologists are baffled, but they're brave, they're curious, so she goes back to Positano, and then strange things start happening again. So what's going on? We have Sea Witch's friends. I'm really enjoying this. I'm enjoying the dual timeline, which is not mentioned at all in the plot. So just FYI, we have 3 POVs. We have Haven, our main character, and then 2 characters from back in the day in the 1820s while things are happening. And I just love when dual timelines complement each other and you learn from one timeline like answers to the other timeline, and I feel like Penner is executing that very well, so I'm impressed. I went in this with also low expectations, just knowing from her 2 previous books. I didn't like absolutely love them, but I'm loving this, so I'm hoping the ending like does it justice, so we will see. I'm definitely over halfway through, and it's good. I recommend. All right, we are now moving into Dark Academia. I just have 2 book recommendations. If you watch my other fall recommendation videos, I definitely have more. I just know I'm just talking a lot in this video, and I just wanted to, not make it super long. The first book I'm gonna recommend that I haven't even read yet, but it's been recommended to me, is Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wang. I've been wanting to read this all year, and it's hard to find a copy of this. I got a paperback version from Barnes & Noble that I think just got released in July, but like online it was hard to find it, and like my Libby doesn't have it, and I wanted to own a copy, so I got the paperback. Yay. The first woman ever admitted to a prestigious order of mages unravels a secret conspiracy that could change the practice of magic forever in this provocative standalone novel that deftly incorporates elements of science and philosophy into dark academia. For 20 years, Skyona has devoted every waking moment to the study of magic, fueled by a mad desire to achieve the impossible, to be the first woman ever admitted to the high magistry of the University of Magics and Industry. So we're in a school, we're in an academy, we're learning magic, dun dun dun, and we have a mystery, this secret conspiracy, and our main character teams up with somebody else, and they work together to uncover this ancient secret. I want to know, what is the secret? I've just heard really high praise for this book, and it's something that people have not read before. Like, it's very unique, so I'm really excited to see what that's all about and how I will like it myself. I haven't read anything by M.L. Wang. I know that they wrote The Sword of Kaigan, which I do want to read that one probably after I read this one, but let me know if you've read either one and what you thought. But going with high expectations, we will see, we will see. My next recommendation for Dark Academia is the Legendborn Cycle series. First book is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I read this earlier this year for my book club inside Patreon, BTW. I have a Patreon with extra videos and content, weekly photo diaries. We have a book club over there, and we just finished reading Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and I need to film my book discussion video for that. And we're gonna be voting on a fall book to read together soon, so please join us over there if you would like to explore more content from me and join more of an intimate, cozy community outside of here. I'd love to connect with you over there. But yeah, we read this, and you could tell I had things to say, to remember and write about. Some legacies are meant to be broken. After her mother dies in an accident, 16-year-old Bree Matthews wants to escape. A residential program for bright high schoolers seems like the perfect opportunity until she witnesses a magical attack her very first night on campus. So I'm not gonna go too deep into this book, but I really enjoyed it because we have dark academia, we have a school, it is a YA, so it's young adult, but it does not read like that. It just reads higher level than that. Like Tracy Deonn, brilliant writer, thoroughly researched as well. I just loved the African-American history incorporated in this, and like the witchcraft, rootcraft aspects of it all, and I will stop there. But I love genealogy and family history. Like, I deal with that IRL at my job, and when I see it in books done really well, I have to praise it. So I'm excited to read the second book, Bloodmark, at some point, maybe next year. Just not in a mood to continue the series right now, but definitely next year, because things have happened in this. Like, I need to know what happens next. 2 categories to go, friends. They're short. So my next category is romantasy. Now, honestly, I could argue that any romantasy is great for reading in the fall time just because of the vibes, depending on what kind of fantasy that you're reading, whether it's court theme or, you know, fairy themed, Vikings, vampires. I mean, they all just work for the season. So read any romantasy. That's my first recommendation. But I have 2 specific ones here that I'm excited to share. These are both books that I'm reading this fall or would like to read. So the first one is Immortal Consequences by I.V. Marie. This, I think, is a highly anticipated book many people are reading this fall, and I am one of them. 6 rivals, 1 victor. Eternity is only the beginning. We have a dark academia. Welcome to Blackwood Academy, the legendary school located on the fringes of the afterlife. Once a pupil enters the academy's arched gates, there is no way out, except for the decennial, a once-in-a-decade celebration in which a single worthy student is tested and given a choice: graduate and join Blackwood's magical elite, or cross over to the mysterious other side. This time, though, the rules have changed. This decennial isn't a celebration, it's a competition, and there can only be 1 victor. We have a competition, we have people competing at school, typical tropes. But this stuck out to me because of the reviews I read. It's YA, so I appreciate knowing that going in. Otherwise, I might be disappointed reading that. It's quick pace, quick to read. Of course, we have a competition with 6 arch rivals, or 6 students that are competing against each other to win something, but they all have a secret to hide. So 1, I want to know who these 6 students are, what their secrets are, and how this whole like decennial celebration, quote unquote, is going to go. So we'll see. The next book is something you might not have heard of, because I picked this up in Rochester, New York at a romance bookstore that I went to called Burn Bright Books, but it was all romance books, and they had a big romantasy section and a local author section. So this is actually by a local Rochester author, and I feel like this is probably indie published, but it's called Threads of the Maiden's Moon, The Witching Wood, Book 1. So it's part of a series by Mila Rose, and I love the cover. Hello, cover. There's a hidden scroll, a forgotten past, a destiny she never asked for. When the Dark Army shatters Nolei's quiet life as a healer, she is forced to flee with nothing but a cryptic scroll and her grandmother's whispered warnings. Her only hope lies in untangling the many secrets, but every answer she uncovers only leads to more questions. So I love that she's a healer. I don't think I've read a lot of books or any books where the main character, like, that's her profession, is she's a healer. I mean, of course, witches can heal and do all that, but she's called a healer. So I'm really interested in hearing more about our main character. 2 magical powers awaken within her, one steeped in spells and starlight, the other a wild and untamed force of nature. She must learn how to harness them quickly before the Dark Queen executes her for possessing them at all. But discovering the truth behind her powers means uncovering a heritage she never knew existed, one that will change everything she thought she knew about herself. I love witchy heritage elements in books, similar to Legendborn. I'm so excited to learn that and just see how that's done in this book. So we will see. We'll see how spicy it is too, because hello, romantasy. Okay, speaking of romance, speaking of spice, we're ending off the video with just 2 romances, two actual romances. But this is like a witchy romance. I didn't put it in the witchy category, I put it in the romance category. And I've never seen anybody really talk about this. It's a book of the month pick from last year, I think. No, November 2023. So it's been almost 2 years since I've read this. But this is This Spells Love by Kate Robb. What if one little wish changed everything? A young woman tries to heal her heartbreak by casting a spell to erase her ex from her past, but wakes up in an alternate reality in which she's lost more than she wished for in this witty, whimsical friends to lovers debut. I mean, do I need to tell you anything more? We have our witch Gemma, who got dumped, and she's so heartbroken. She's like, all right, let's perform a hex. Let's perform a spell. And we have a kooky aunt. We just love all the random characters. And they're gonna perform a love cleansing spell that promises to erase Gemma's ex from her memory. So if you ever saw Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, we're trying to erase our memories so we don't even think about that person. I mean, if you had access to that kind of like spell or like ability, would you do that? Would you erase a certain part of your memory, whether it was an event or a person or a thing? I feel like this is kind of a deep question, like not for like bad like mental health like scenarios, but just as a fun, lighthearted kind of question. Would you? I don't think I would. I don't think I would, even though there's a lot of people in my past that I randomly think about from time to time that I wish just never creeped into my brain. I don't know. I don't think that's something that I'd want to do, probably because I'm a memory keeper, an archivist, and just having access to all of those memories or like records of my brain, I'd want to have access to all of them. Laurie Gilmore, friends, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, is that even the first, what the book is called? That was the first book. I read it on ebook and I loved it. Like, I was kind of like wary of the series because of how spicy it was. It was a TikTok book, and I know that like I can't really read books that are hyped on TikTok anymore, or at least I need to go with low expectations. But I read that one, like it wasn't fall time at all, and I really enjoyed it. And then the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, I think, is this the second one? I think, yeah, this is book 2 in the Dream Harbor series. I love this one even more than the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, guys. We have our cute little town of Dream Harbor, and Laurie Gilmore just keeps writing more books. So then the one after this is the Christmas one that I have not read yet, but I'm gonna read that this Christmas, which I'm excited about, The Christmas Tree Farm. And the Strawberry Patch Pancake House is more of a spring book. I read that last spring. And this one is technically like a summer to fall book. So I would recommend reading this now, ASAP. It takes place, I think, in August into September. And the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore is the feature store place in this story with our character who has a little bit of a checklist. She's about to turn 30, I think, and she just creates this bucket list for herself to have more fun because she's bookish and boring, you know, typical bookstore owner trope. And she's gonna have some fun, and boy, does she have fun. And I enjoyed it, thoroughly enjoyed it all the way through. So if you love super spicy books, you'll like this. Don't read it if you don't like spice, don't. But if you do, this is great. All right, friends, we've made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed filming and just diving into all these different little plots and summaries. And now I'm just more excited to continue reading. As I said, I'm reading Amalfi, The Amalfi Curse, and hope to finish that soon. And then I think I'm gonna read Mirror Lake next by Juneau Black. I don't know, we'll see. I like to save my witchy reads for October, but that's when my life is gonna get really busy. So we'll see, we'll see. I have time, and you have all the time in the world. Don't feel pressured to read all the Cozy Autumn books, or even one Cozy Autumn book. Don't feel pressured to make a huge list and have to check off everything off. Really savor this time, savor the moment and the season, and just read something that feels good, and that's well enough. So thank you, friends, for being here, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And make sure to like this video if you made it all the way, and subscribe to join the community. Check me out on Patreon. And I also have a lot of other fall videos, like a whole back catalog. So I'll link all my playlists down below, reading vlogs, just general fall vlogs. Check them out. Lots to binge, lots to binge. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.